you.
Okay. Yeah, so Sister Thando, I want to introduce you, but I fear that I will do an injustice to your accomplishments and your career. So I think let me just give you the honors and allow you to introduce yourself to anyone who might be listening or might be watching this interview at a later stage.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mzwandile, for the opportunity. So my name, as you've seen, is Thando, maiden surname Zondi, married Maseko. I'm a mining engineer by profession, graduated at Wits University in 2005. So just to briefly take you through my career, basically I was an Anglo-Core bursar. That was when Anglo-American previously had division, and I was in the Anglo-Core. And the greatest story about Anglo-Core was it was basically government policy which forced companies like Anglo-Core to go out to rural schools and look for students that they can absorb so that they can be part of their team. It was more on a transformation drive for Anglo. So how they came about me, I went to a boarding school. I'm originally from Intuzuma in Durban, but I went to a boarding school 2.5 hours from Durban in Ulundi, James Numalo. And Anglo-Co actually came to my school in the February of my matric year, and I was one of the pupils that they recruited. And basically they said if I could get the required marks to enter into mining engineering, they would give me a bursary. And they took me to the winter school and spring school. So that's how I ended up in mining engineering. So it was a fortunate situation since I had an unemployed mother. So it just sort of worked out to say that that's the thing I did. And I can honestly say that it's been one of the best things that had happened to me up to date. And after being at Wits, I graduated in 2005 and started my career at Anglo-Core. I did various jobs at Anglo-Core, from the graduate program, being a miner, being a shift boss. Then I had an opportunity. I went and worked overseas in Anglo-Core, Australia, where I was the mine planning engineer at one of the mines in Dawson Mine. Then I came back to South Africa. I did a bit of planning in one of the operations. Then I went back to operation in a mine overseer level and a production superintendent. I did a lot of, I think Anglo-Core had 11 operations in South Africa at that time. I probably in 7 years worked in 9 out of the 11 operations. So I was really moving around. Yeah. And then I think I had my first child in 2012. I got married, had my first child in 2012. And then I slowed down a bit, basically, when I had my first child. And then I had my second child in 2015. And there I was already at a senior role of a mining manager, technical services manager. And what really happened to me was I just sat and looked at it, and I'm like, I'd moved up the roles very quickly. And I was planning my next move, and I'm like, I just thought that the next move is GM, and then I must fight for the CEO position, and it's one position. And I'm like, is this it? Like, it's just struck me at that point. I'm like, is this it? I'm like, it can't be it. And I was like, so then I started thinking, and you know, opportunity is born out of frustration. I was just very frustrated. I remember I had my second child and I was moved into technical services. And I just started thinking that something is wrong with this picture. Anglo-Core is dictating what my career should be. So there's a group of males sitting around in head office who are deciding for me what should happen in my life. And I just realized that I had no control because everyone just thought she's just had a baby, she must go there. So everyone, and it was out of good intentions and I understood, but no one really asked me what I want to do. And I realized that the system is using me, not the other way around. It's like I'm doing something for someone else. And then I sat, and that's when you're in your deepest problems, that's when you really think, what is it I can do? And I was in a position at that point in time where I was meeting a lot of companies, contract mining companies coming in for opportunities. And transformation has always been the buzz. But at that point in time, there was a whole mining charter debate was going around in transformation. And To put it in simple terms, mining, I'm going to say be in mining was getting a bad rep because it was being seen that be in mining was for the politically connected. If it's not the politically connected, it's for the tenderpreneur. And I was saying that, but this is wrong. The reason why everyone sees it like this is because people like myself who understand mining, who understand exactly how this thing should work, are busy sitting in corporate positions, comfortable, and we are not making use of the opportunities that have been presented to us. And I'm like, I looked at myself as that I'm the perfect candidate. I'm a product of what you take when policy has gone right. I was developed through when they said you must get transformation. I got a bursary. If you understand, it was government policy which pushed all the way. I moved up in my career, and to an extent, I must admit that Anglo Co had been looking for the employment equity to get things right. I moved so fast. So out of that frustration, I just decided, I took the bold move. I'm like, no, I'm gonna start my own company. So that's how, and now I'm sitting. I'm the director of Inayo Mining. This is a company which was formed in 2017. We have a turnover of over $500 million. We probably have employees in excess of 300, but mainly we subcontract. So I think that's my story. And the best thing is I'm writing my own destiny. So that is probably my story. I'm sure it's not in a nutshell, but that's the only way I can explain my story.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you
Thanks, Mzwandile.
so much for that very detailed, and you said it in a very nice way when you just explaining yourself how you got to where you are and everything that happened. I mean, it's very inspirational. And I think for anyone else who's listening to this now, they would understand why it is that I specifically, chose you to come here, because this is a story that is very unique in the mining industry, I would say. Normally, we aspire to go to positions like GM if we're lucky, and maybe CEO, highly unlikely there because there's a very few people who went the mining engineering route and actually ended up CEO of a mining company. So it's very interesting and very inspiring to hear you say that you actually did that. And I think it was one of my questions that I was going to ask you, because I saw you played a lot of production manager, mine manager roles, but I didn't see a 4-1 position. I didn't see a GM or position in your profile. And I was going to ask you, why is it exactly that you didn't go for a GM role? And you just answered me now, and I'm covered with that. So let me just give you a background, and everyone else who might be listening today, of this interview, what it's for and what inspired it. So last year, when I was still a SMES SG, when I was still doing that stuff, we were doing a series of interviews for women in mining, just marketing. I think we did try to get a hold of you there, but I think it was an issue of time and all of that. But we were trying to market the interview, and we did 3 interviews with the likes of Lesego Mokgeti. We did an interview with Unonkuma Buza. We did an interview with Mpumi Mbonani. And then from there, a lot of people responded to that very positively, and on numerous separate occasions asked that maybe we should look into making more of these interviews, as they gained a lot from it. And in a nutshell, then that is why we're here. That is why I'm speaking to you here. So I've titled this interview, actually this whole new series that I'm doing right now is for graduates, newly graduates, and people maybe exiting the graduate programs, trying to navigate themselves, trying to find their space in the mining industry. And I've titled this specific interview with you, and I've called it Finding Your Place Under the Sun, right? So let me just give you a background now of where this comes from. On a certain day, I was driving with my boss on our way to work, and we had just lifted a section 54. And I told him that this task that I had as my very first task from university, it frightened me a lot, and I really didn't think it's something that I could pull off. And then my boss told me, "Look, Mzwandile, you too have a place under the sun. You need to claim that place, you know." So he also told me there that, you know, you're young, you're graduates, and you should not fear making mistakes. So just opening this interview with you now, Sis Thando, I would just like to vaguely ask you for your inputs or your comments or your view on this statement. You have a place under the sun. You need to claim it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You're young, you know. So what's your view on that?
I think your boss is someone I'd like to have in my network. I agree 110% with that statement. And I'm so glad. The reason, Mzwandile, I jumped for this opportunity, and I remember when you guys were trying to get hold of me, is I really believe in giving back, and I feel that this is one of the ways that I can do that. And when you talk about making mistakes, you know, in your career, there are times where the higher you go, the magnitude of your mistakes, the price you pay for the mistake increases exponentially the higher you go. So there's a time where, and there's nothing, you learn more out of any situation when you've personally been in that situation and made a mistake. The learning that you have from that it's one of the best things you can ever have. So I agree 100% with them. And in making mistakes is in taking up challenges, because most of us fear going into the unknown. You want to be in your comfort zone, hence you do not learn. So the first thing you need to do is to open up yourself to different things, to different challenges. And as a young graduate, that is key. But I want to even add more to what your boss had actually said. I believe in something even more, and it's something that I've practiced in my life and that has worked. Learn from other people's mistakes. And that is the one thing that I think has set me apart in my career. I have mentors for days. And I'm a type A personality. I just know I can do it and I believe myself and whatever. And I've always had mentors who've been there, got the t-shirt. And what they would do would be to pull me back and like, we know we've been there, don't do it. So for me, that has short-circuited most of the mistakes that I've made, because I've surrounded myself with so many people who understand exactly, because they were once like me. So they'll just tell me. So you find that you then fast forward most of the learning, because, hey, why must you make a mistake yourself when someone can tell you that it's... So that's another thing I'd just like to encourage. So network, get mentors, people who've been there, because we always have this problem when we believe we're the first people going through a problem. I can promise you, as a graduate, whatever you're going through at this exact moment, the frustration, someone out there has been through the exact same thing. So you are not special. Just find someone and they'll tell you.
No, thank you. And I'm glad you went the direction you went to, because you sort of touched into my next question for you, where I ask you, look, I want to establish something here that, you know, sometimes as graduates, as students, when we go through a problem, we sometimes think, no, this is unique to me, or this is new, nobody has ever gone through this. But the mining industry is old. And unfortunately, the challenges faced in the mining industry, probably by your generation and generations before you, are the same challenges that we are going to face. So to establish that, maybe I just wanted to ask you, going through your graduate program in your entry phase, or going out of your graduate program, but just being young in the mining industry, what were your biggest challenges and what were your biggest frustrations?
Yeah. I'm gonna take it down to basics, then probably move up. As a female, and this is one thing that has eaten me up a lot, as a minor in a section, we had sections where you had a back by. That's a back by is the supporting staff who could help you clean up the section, put up ventilation practices. I'm just gonna say it at a simple level that a graduate now can understand. One of the most difficult tasks I ever had as a female graduate, as a minor, was putting up practices in a section. The step ladder was so heavy. I'm just telling you my honest whatever. The step ladder was so heavy, and carrying it, like I couldn't carry it alone. And I remember that I was physically exhausted. It was the small things that, and I remember I was the only one in my section who was a female. Going to the Madala site to do your number one or number two was like frightening. Like those were the small things that I went through. And I sure hope to God, no female 16 years after I did that is still going through the same thing. I really hope not. But those are the small things that really were difficult for me. But I must say that to just now move the question up a bit higher is one of the issues is what you studied at school and what you find at the workplace are two totally different things. Actually, you can take your degree and frame it and put it on the side. What you are going to experience there, forget you have a degree. Actually, it's not. Your degree taught you to be book smart. When you get there, you need to be street smart. And that for me it scared me because I realized, because I was a hardworking student who did well at school, and I thought that is what you needed. But when I got there, I'm like, this is not what I need. And that scared me a lot because I was like, okay, what do I do now? How do I navigate this? So those for me were the things that scared me, and I didn't know my place in terms of how to navigate this whole situation. And I think many graduates are probably going through the same thing at this moment in time. And my advice to those graduates who are going through exactly that at this moment in time is take a step back. Find someone who's been there. Let them assist you in navigating this. But also don't be afraid to say, I don't know, because they can say that, but you're a graduate, there were always these night comments like, but you studied. And you're really working with people who don't have the degrees, and they're coming at you to say, but you're the one with the degree. So be humble enough to learn from those people around you. That's probably my advice to graduates.
So would you say then how you overcame these frustrations and these challenges was to put in a nutshell or summarize what you said, was you learned to be street smart, and then two, you were humble enough. You learned to, be humble and ask for help, when you needed the help.
Okay. Definitely. I think you've summarized it well.
Okay. All right. No, thank you then. And again, in answering that question, you went just a bit into my next question, where in my little experience, here's my frustration that, I'm a graduate, I'm from university, I've got ideas. And, coming into work and having all of these ideas, wanting something to be done a certain way, but it's not really about what you know. It's about how you can get the people you're working with who are under you to do exactly what needs to be done. And my question is now, how did you try to navigate or balance the fact that you have good ideas and you want to execute them, and you want to execute them in a certain way, but here you have an operator or a worker, for instance, who has done the job way longer than you have, probably before you were even born. And when you tell them to do something, they do it the best way they know how to, and that's not necessarily how exactly that you want to. Now, you don't want your operator to listen to you and be like a robot, because that would be undermining the experience they have. But in the same place, you do not want them to, disregard your instructions, because then you feel like they're undermining your authority, and that's going to give them leeway to walk all over you. So to bring it back together, my question is here: how did you navigate or balance the fact that, okay, I have good ideas, but they won't always be executed the way that I want them to be executed? I've got people who've got way more experience than me, who've been doing the job longer than me, who probably know a better way to do it. I don't know if I came out correctly there.
No, thank you.
Okay.
No, Mzwandile, I think I think I'm going to say it's a mistake, but I think it's just an element of being young, which we must just take, is that you think you can solve the world's problems, which is brilliant. You probably can. But to solve the problems, you must actually really understand them. And your graduate program is a time for learning. And this is the mistake we all sometimes make. This is one of the times that you ask questions and you absorb and you learn. You learn. Because unfortunately, your time at the coal face is very short. You're there now and you think this is going to last forever. But I can promise you, 2-3 years is nothing. It flies by very quickly. And you will come into a position where you can implement those things when you're in your senior position. So what we make the mistake of doing is you see something and you think you're the first person who's come up with it. So I just wanna help graduates out of their frustration now. I'm not saying forget your innovativeness. Think about your solution, but spend your graduate period learning and absorbing as much as you can, asking the silly questions, because it's very embarrassing when you're now a manager and you have to ask a basic question. There are some questions when you move up the ranks that when everyone talks, they assume you know. Because, and it's very embarrassing. And as a person, you've got it's ego, it's pride. You can't ask a simple question. But when you're at the coal face, that's when you ask the simplest questions, because you need to learn. So what I'm trying to say to all graduates now is that graduate time is probably not time for innovativeness. It's time for you to absorb things, because you will definitely get you'll get the opportunity to implement your innovativeness. But what you are doing now is you short-circuiting the learning process, because you are so absorbed in what I want to implement. And you're forgetting, because the one thing is, you think you're the first one who's come up with it. And that's why mentorship is important. And I'm sitting here and I'm telling you now, you're not. Yeah. You are not. So now just change your mindset and just know that in 4 years' time, you'll be able to implement, because you'll be the boss. Just be comfortable in that position and you will see the wonders it will work for you.
Okay, no. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. I think I can't further expand to that. It was so well said, and I think anyone who heard it could understand. So here's another question then that comes up a lot when we're having such conversations. It's about leadership style, and I think maybe this is one of the things that you try to develop or during your graduate program, because I mean, the way you lead people and how you interact with people, it becomes your identity in the mining industry. They know you for that. I know for a fact, I know a few mine managers just by the way they interact with people, and they're famous like that in the mining industry. So there we are again. There's someone who wants to rule with an iron fist. Someone who, when they appear at a shaft or at a pit or something, everybody runs away, because, the 3-1 is here, the boss is here, and everybody must try and look busy. And then it's effective, we can't really argue against it, because it gets the job done. People are producing, and then again, you find someone else who is very approachable in person, who speaks well with people, and there's no need for people to squabble when they're around. And again, this person is producing the results. This person is effective. So then the question comes, which one is the right answer? Which one is the best way to go about it? I'm just going to ask for you. I have a few follow-up questions on this one, but maybe you're going to cover me in your answer.
No, thanks, Mzwandile. I think for me on leadership style is, and I'm hoping that my audience is mainly mining engineering graduates. So I'll say one thing. For you to get into mining engineering, you were one of the best, wherever you came from. You had good marks. You were a leader in your own right. That's one thing that I remember my class. My class was the cream of the crops in their own school, so I'm assuming that's the same thing. So by virtue of being where you are, you were a leader from where you came from. Let's acknowledge that. So now you are actually saying that now, how do I stand out? How am I become different? And I'm going to just tell you that we all make the mistake that you see a boss that you admire and you look at their leadership style and you try to imitate that because you've observed and seen how effective it is in getting in results. But you can only be good at being you. The minute you try to imitate someone else, people can feel and sense when you're not your authentic self and it doesn't go well. So what one must always try to do is be the best that you can be the natural you, and recognize your own weaknesses and try to fix your own weaknesses. So what I'm trying to say is don't imitate anyone. Lead in a way that you're comfortable because people respond to genuineness, if I can tell you that. So the mistake that we're making at this moment in time is that we try to be someone that you're not. And you can't be good at being something that you're not. The only place where you are number one is at being yourself. So try to develop yourself because you're already a leader within your own right. I want you to get that right. Everyone who might listen to this, by virtue of where you are, you're a leader. So grow yourself and what you're more comfortable in, work in, but more importantly, know what you are not good at so you can work on that. So do not imitate anyone. Your leadership style should be based on you, should be unique to you, and I can promise you, you'll go far. And I want to go more to the females now. One of our issues, we were one of the first females when we started out. And we came into an environment where we saw males just, shouting, getting things done and whatever. And what I realized in my career, I probably could give a lot of men a run for their money being like that. Because I think I did that and I did that very well. And I moved up. But then I came to a level, and I think that level, I reached that level 5 years ago, was when I went up so fast in my career, I started competing against the best of the best men. And I realized something, I was not going to win because I'm a woman trying to be a man. So already they've got the advantage that it's in the DNA to be the way they are. But remember now, I'm now a woman, so I've reached my equivalent at the top. And now they are beating me based on DNA. And I had to step back and say that, no, I must play this thing differently now. There's one thing that a man can't beat you as a woman. It's being a woman. They can't be a woman. So I decided then to lead as the best woman that I can be, because no man can compete against me about that. So in that area. So what I'm trying to tell the females is, we don't have to shout. We don't have to do what they do. I promise you, we don't have to do what they do. And the other thing, we feel the pressure. And I was recently I sat on a board of a company called Blue Mining Services, and we had an interview. And a lady came up in the interview and she said that she felt so aggrieved by one of her contractors who was not paying the people right, yet they were paying them the right amount. And she's like, she had to hold herself in because she's so passionate about this. And I'm like, what makes you unique, what makes you you, is how you react when you're passionate, how you talk. Don't let society or the males have dictated how we should be. No. We must dictate how we should be. You are best at being yourself. So my advice to any graduate or anyone going through a leader, be the best you and forget the norms of society. Those were the norms of a society which didn't include people like us, people who are female, people who are historically disadvantaged. So if we want to level the playing field, let's not try to fit in. Let's be ourselves in the world, and it will change. So that's really my advice to everyone.
All right. No, thank you so much. that was a very, very great answer. Learned a lot from that. And then let me just bring a follow-up question to that now. So let's say now you decide, I'm not gonna go the traditional way. I'm not gonna try and lead with an iron fist. I'm not gonna go shouting around at people. What I am going to do is be myself. Say you are a kind person and you're gonna be kind to people. And so the question is, if you decide to go that route, there is the slight possibility, the slight chance that if you're not very firm, while being that kind person, while being approachable, while being, a people's person, people can walk all over you. So the question is, if you want to be like that, how do you balance being approachable, being a people's person, but at the same time, not having everyone walk all over you? Because sometimes in this industry, kindness is seen as weakness and it's seen as opportunity to just play you around and all of that. So how do you balance that? So, say, I'm not going to be a monster to people, but I need to get things done. I need to produce. And I don't want people taking chances with me, trying to walk all over me.
Thanks, Mzwandile, for that question. And I believe that as leaders, we forget the basic art of leadership. Is you ask yourself, what will motivate that person to do what they are supposed to do? One of the things is when we approach a situation, you look at it too much from your own point of view to say, I need to get A, B, C, D, whatever. And it's literally about approach to a situation. You understand best, and it takes time. And that's why I say one of the things that I feel was missing in our degree as mining engineering, I think we had like one module in third year, if I'm not mistaken. I even forgotten it was taken by Professor Beaumont at my time. It was something about people and whatever. I think one of the things that our degree misses a lot, it should have more stuff on EQ, more stuff on philosophy. Because mining engineering, in essence, any leadership job, it actually becomes more about EQ at the end of the day. So you approach a person based on what motivates them. So it's actually fine. You find that you have different leadership styles to different people because the situation necessitates it. So there's no stereotype that you should be this sort of person. You lead according to the situation that it calls. So I don't want everyone to start being fixated that I should be like this. To a certain crowd of people, you are like this because that's what drives them and you've understood them. But to a certain crowd of people, you are different. So what you need to be aware of is whenever you get into any situation, you need to assess the people, understand what motivates them, and lead according to a way that will push them to get the results. So Mzwandile, some people might say, hey, Mzwandile is such a nice, kind person. But some people in the very same area say, oh, Mzwandile, like people can have in the very same place, but I lead according to the way you want me to lead. So don't box yourself. Be open. This must be a very fluid thing and move with the fluidity, and it's okay. And let's change this mining industry, not to being what we were introduced to, that it's just hardcore, they sway and everything else. Let's change this industry to be an industry where it's a lady and gentleman industry. Why can't we talk nicely and get things? It's in our powers, and Mzwandile. The problem is we imitating those people in the past, and we're not like that. So let's not be like that. Sorry, my son is supposed to be sleeping and he's just I'm busy. Yes, you can. I'm so sorry about this. I did give
No,
strict,
it's fine.
strict instructions. Sorry.
It's fine. Thank you for that again. You've been giving me very powerful answers, challenging the way I look at it. I mean, you are right. We do fall into the trap of saying, okay, this is the type of leader I am, and trying to fixate or box ourselves into one leadership style. Whereas, leadership should be a responsive type of thing. It's okay, this is who I'm dealing with, and then I should act this way. I should respond this way with this leadership style. And I do agree with you again on that point that we should have more philosophical, more leadership orientated types of modules in our mining engineering degree. We also did that course you're talking about. I think it's management principles. Still Mr. Bowman.
Yes.
Still Mr. Bowman. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much on that one. I don't want to go more into it because then I'm gonna spoil the powerful work you just did. So thank you on that. Let's go to stereotypes now faced by women. You have touched a little bit on this and that when it comes to stereotypes faced by women. Sometimes we paint them as being emotional in the mining industry, and I think to an extent with some females that caps them sometimes. So I don't know, what would be your advice when it comes to that to any graduate who is a female and is going through that very thing where they are being labeled or being boxed under some certain stereotype, being female? How do you counteract that? How do you respond to that?
Thanks. And unfortunately for women, we still are in the minority. And I'm just reaching out to any females out there. Those of us who have been there are open to talking to you. Reach out and we can help you deal with whatever problem that you are going through, because sometimes all you need is to be heard and to be understood, and you need someone who's a female, because let's be honest, sometimes men just don't get it. Like I've had situations where I've tried to explain being in a room with my mentors to say, I'm in that room and I'm the boss by virtue of title and everything else, but I can feel like I'm being undermined. And then my boss will be, no, you're not undermined. But I know what I feel. And I can tell that my mentor just doesn't understand. And so it's not his fault. He's just never been a woman. We've got a sixth sense about this because we've been through it a lot, so you know it. And so the first advice I'll give to any woman going through any situation is reach out. Please. And the problem is that it's such a small industry, and you might find that we seem to be closed off and we're not willing to talk. And it's actually not the case. If someone like you, Mzwandile, how we set up the interview, if someone approaches you at the right time, at the right place, we are willing to talk. So that's the first thing. Please, ladies, reach out. We are here to help. And then with the idea of being emotional, ladies and gentlemen, we were created emotional. So what's happening now is we as women are trying to fit into an environment which has rules which were set by men. And I'm going to repeat this. These were rules which are set by men. And it's disappointing that after I've been in the industry for like 16 years, women should still be going through that, because it shows a failure on my part that when I was trying to be a man, I taught men that women should behave like this. I didn't teach men that I can succeed with being myself, because I'm also very emotional. Ask my husband. He doesn't understand me half of the time when I go off, and I go off, and it's me, it's in my nature. But guess what? Society works with us men and women with our with our differences. Society works. So why should it be different in our industry? The mistake we've made is we've tried to conform to something that we are not. But as women now, what you need to do is, sometimes it's even in your personal relationship, sometimes it just doesn't help to go off. You guys are young, so you have boyfriends and whatever. So sometimes it just doesn't help to go off at your boyfriend. And we women practice this with our boyfriends or our husbands. Sometimes when you want something, you think about your approach. How am I going to get it done? It's the exact same thing you do in the workplace because men shut us off. I know my husband. When I start going off, he's like, I'll see you later. That's the men's reaction. But I've gotten a lot in my husband. I'm not sure when he hears that. I've gotten a lot of my way because I've just mastered, okay, how am I approaching him? So it's the EQ, ladies. It's the EQ, reach out, the very same mind games you play in your relationship. Come and play them at work because they are designed, they are the same species. It's literally the species that you deal with at home, that you're dealing with at work. So you know how they respond. So let's just get smart about it because we can get it done at home. Let's just get it done in the boardroom now. Just be smart.
All right. Thank you for that. Never actually thought of it that way. I'm sure it will be appreciated by the ladies. Very much sure. Okay, thank you, Sis Thando, for that. I'd also like to just briefly explore your entrepreneurial parts, of what you do now. So I just wanted to know, I mean, since we're graduates now, what work as a graduate, I'm assuming now this would have to deal more with network and you building your social capital. What work at this level we are on right now can we do to put ourselves at a better position to be where you are at when we are maybe your age or something like that? So as graduates right now, what can we do to make sure that in the future we reach, your achievements? Because if there's something I do believe in, it's the process. I know that you didn't just sleep and wake up some day and you are a non-executive director, a CEO, or a co-founder. There is some work, there was some sacrifice at some point in your life. So I'm just asking, at the stage we are in right now, with the resources we have and the access to people we have, what work can we do if we want in the future to access the entrepreneurial space?
Okay, Mzwandile, I think I'm going to answer that. To access the entrepreneurial space or any other space you might want to. There's funny enough, a while back, I read something, Jack Ma, I saw a video of something he said. And that was the first thing that resonated with me. And I'm like, this guy is describing my journey. When I graduated from varsity, I had no idea I wanted to have my own company. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I probably wanted to be the CEO of Anglo American if there was anything like that, but I just had no idea. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So your graduate years are the years for doing everything under the sun. And I mean, explore everything from consulting to actual production to investment banking. Explore everything that's open to you. But remember now, I'm 5 months down the line from graduation. I hope you guys haven't indebted yourself with expensive cars and everything else. I just hope you haven't done that. But anyway, because that's what's going to hold you back now. Because the first 5 years, let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, the money will come. And I know you don't believe me now. The money will come to buy the car that you want. Ask me. The money will come. I'm proof. The money does come. I promise you. It just doesn't come at the graduate year. But when it comes, you're like, why did I ever do that? So relax that the money will come. So now do everything under the sun because you want to gain a lot of skills. Probably do that for 6 to 7 years, depending, and just explore everything. And then while you're going through this journey, you will find something that interests you. Because at the moment, you really don't know what interests you. Then you take that thing that interests you and then you work on it. That's what you do. You work on it. You try to become the best of the best in that particular thing. And you try to look at what will make you stand head and shoulders above the rest. Be it, I can't work in one commodity. I must work in multiple commodities. I must be global. Because if you look at my CV, there was a method to the madness. I was going around, but there was a method to the madness because I always said that if a lot of CVs were put in front of someone, why would they choose me? And I always say that I stand out, the skills that I've got. Don't repeat the same thing. Some of us are fascinated by you're a mine overseer, production manager. You move from this mining house to that mining house.
Mm.
If you've done the role for a couple of years and you've gained the experience, guess what? The skill set is there. When you go and repeat it again in another company, you're just proving that you're very good at doing the same thing. But have you really grown as a person? No. So plan your life. It's up to you now. This is the time where you learn. So you work at your passion and you become the best. Now you start saying that I'm going to be the best at this particular thing. And you become good at your CV. Then you take that thing, and this is the stage where I'm at now. You monetize it. You make money out of being the best in that particular area now. Now you make it a business or you make it a whatever, but you really have to go through the stages and do all of those things. So this is my advice to graduates. Go all over the show, do everything, and don't be as scared of anything. Do everything. But then at some point, stick to one thing and learn a lot. When you've learned a lot, you must come to a point where they say, he or she is the one for that particular thing. Now you know you're at a level where you can take that and make money out of it. That's really my advice to graduates. I hope it helps someone who's listening to this.
I definitely think it's going to help someone. Again, thank you for that. Just a follow-up question now while we're in the entrepreneurship spirit. From where you're seated right now, if there's maybe someone out there who's just saying, okay, I need to take a shot at this entrepreneurship thing, where would you say the opportunities are for someone who has a mining engineering degree and has been doing it for quite some time? So yeah, that's my question. Let me leave it there.
I'm going to give you an answer no one wants to hear, and I think everyone listening will not want to hear. I can't give you that answer.
Okay.
And the reason why I can't give you that answer is you must be in it to see the opportunity, because what I see as an opportunity, it's an opportunity by virtue of my networks and the people. It's only an opportunity because I've got the right networks, and it will not be the right opportunity for you because you must immerse yourself in the environment. So if you really want to do this, and I'm saying for anyone, you really need to have a plan of what do you want to do and work towards the plan, because opportunity lies in being in the right social networks who will hook you up, for the lack of a better word. So I can't answer you now because what's an opportunity for me, and I've got several now, it's not an opportunity for you because the people who will give you the opportunity are giving it to me because I'm Thandokuhle Maseko, who's what. Will they give the same opportunity to you? Probably no. I'm leaving it there, and I know everyone's going to be so irritated at my answer, but it's actually the truth because everything can be an opportunity.
No. I'm not actually irritated because that's straight up. That is straight up. Thank you for that. I think we're running out of time a bit. I'm enjoying this interview so much. Let's talk about the graduate absorption rates now. I think before the interview, we briefly spoke about that. And yeah, it's not looking as handsome as it used to look. And my question to you then is, do you think we'll ever be at a place again where, the graduate absorption rates for mining is at the top like it used to be? And then again, for people who fallen victim to the shortfall of graduate absorption in the mining industry, what would you say? If someone has graduated and they really haven't gotten a job, what would your advice be to that person?
Thank you very much, Mzwandile. I think to answer your question, I think the time when we graduated, as I told you, I think before we actually started the interview, but was by the time we were in our third year in 2004, every single classmate of mine had a bursary, meaning they were guaranteed a job. And I can safely say that those times are over. I don't think that those times will ever come back again. But I think now the graduate must start looking at themselves in a different manner. In terms of everyone is very fixated with these big corporates, and the time of big corporates is over. And I'm very glad when you told me what you are doing, and I'm like, you are doing the right thing. Where is the future? The future lies in companies like Inayo Mining. I'm telling you the honest truth, because what Inayo Mining looks for now, I'm just going to be, all this innovativeness that you ask for and whatever. We are such a small company, and one of graduates needs to really change their mindset now, because what a small company gives to you is you do everything in a small company. One of the things that I market myself up, and I'm very proud to say, is that I'm better than, I never was a GM, but I'm sure by now I'm better than any GM, any out there in a big corporate. And the reason why I can say this with much confidence is no GM has had to deal with wage negotiations the way I've had to deal with wage negotiations. There's always a HR department led by someone out there who does everything else. No GM has had to go through the social challenges. I stand in front of a community and I say this. They tell me where to get off. They tell me whatever, but I'm in it. You understand? The amount of learning that you get from companies like us, which I know that graduates now are not really fond of, is so immense and stands you in such good stead, because you get to learn so much. So my advice to graduates now is that you guys should really pivot. What worked 10 or 15 years ago is not going to work now. Look for company like ours. And when you look for them, even look to volunteer, go there and get no pay. Because I've been saying to some people that I know, we actually gave out bursaries to some students in the Polar Office area. And I actually said in the interviews, I was very interested, because I told everyone is that I didn't get 7 A's or whatever. I did well, but I was like, I didn't shoot the lights out. And I know I didn't shoot the lights out just because I was in a disadvantaged school. We didn't finish the curriculum. Only 5 of us did higher grade, the most standard grade, and we had 1 teacher. I understood. But what you look at, you see potential in people. And what graduates are missing now is, what we look for now is people who are hungry, who can go to places where they would never think to venture out, who are the first ones to say, hey, I will do this. That is the type of person who's poised to succeed, who can even take a job which is not really in mining, but close to mining to get there. Those are the people that succeed. And this is really my advice to graduates. If in any shape or form you can get yourself into a mining company in any manner, guess what? Once you're in, you're gonna move somewhere. So there's no script to this. Forget what happened 10, 15 years ago. Form your own path and really forget what you, I actually mean this, forget what you learned in school. Be street smart. Some of you should already be having people in your network who could connect you to say this. The fact that you finished the 4-year degree and you never formed that network, it's already across. So now do something about it. I really hope I've helped someone out there to really realize that it's now really up to you. And those who pass cum laude, it's beautiful to pass cum laude. I'm not even going to be against it. Hey, I was in the top 3 in my class when I graduated. But what I'm just trying to tell them is, you know who succeeds in life? It's the C students, the hustlers. You know, those ones who still go to all house and they still manage to pass the exam. Those students have a balance that you do not understand. And that's the balance that's needed. I'm telling you guys. So, but remember, to the cum laude, I also did well, but I could change my mindset and understand. So those ones who were social and could do everything else, Those are the people, mark my words, look at your classmates, you know your classmate. 10 years down the line, you come and ask me, the C students will, yeah, they'll outwork the A students, and that's life. So I
Yeah.
hope I've given you guys something to work with at least when you're trying to plan your lives ahead.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Again, that was a powerful answer. That was a very good answer. Never thought of it that way again. But I guess
Called
Smalling.
experience in Mzwandile. That's why it's called experience.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Oh wow, oh wow. Okay, so I do guess small mining companies are the way, because they do give you responsibility like no any other way, you know. So I'm a testimony of that. I've seen it happening. Uh, yeah, I've seen it happening. So let's close off this interview now. It has been so much fun. I've learned a lot from it. Let's just close off with asking you for general advice now. I mean, you've been giving us so much advice, but it was specific to, you know, issues. So if you were to give any graduates now just some general advice, what would you say?
All starts with you.
Hmm.
If anyone had told me 16 years ago that I, a girl from Intuzuma, with a mom who was, I'm the firstborn, mom who was unemployed at the time, who just told me that I would be where I am. And remember, and I just want to say that if you believe it, you can get it. I started my company. I don't even have 2 million rand to my name. I'm just trying to now show how ordinary I was. I'm like I'm like most South Africans. I didn't have, you can look into my family, they're not politically connected. You can check me out. Really, there's nothing like, it was me. I'm probably the first generation who's going to create something that you call wealth. But it comes from self belief and taking chances. Never be scared of no. Like, for me, no is okay, if it was going to be yes, it's going to be great. If it's no, I would have never known. And this is what people, I think, fear. I started my first contract when I left. It was a 4 month contract at a mine called, it's a Klein Copy, an Anglo coal mine. And how I got that contract till today literally was a lot of companies pulled out of the job because it kept on being pulled up, it kept on being pushed up. I wrote an email. I wrote an email to the head of mining, who had been my mentor at some point, and I wrote an email and I said, I believe I'm capable of doing this job. It's 4 months. And then what did I do? I went to a plant hire company and I used my credentials. I'm like, I sold myself, and I can be very confident. I'm like, look at me, I'm this, I'm that, and I've worked for Anglo, and they believe me, and I know these systems. If you can just, they gave me machine worth 50 million rand, brand new, for a 4 month contract, and I pulled it off. I worked my butt off. I remember my birthday was on the 7th of May in 2017. It was on a Sunday. And I remember it was on a Saturday. I didn't feel my birthday. I was dirty. I was in the field, because when something is yours, it's personal. You work your behind off when it's yours. And today when I retell that story and I'm like, look at me now. But the one thing that happened was that I just believed in myself and I just put in things there and I just said, whatever works, believe in yourself. It happens through your hard work, and learning to say no is just a no. You wouldn't have gotten anything else if you hadn't asked. So I'm appealing to everyone else. We always seem to think that these things happen for someone else. Look at me. If it can happen to me, like if you really knew my background, guys, there's no reason it shouldn't happen to you. Like, I don't even know how to say it. Like, you should really get off your backside and go work, because if someone like me can do it, you have no excuse. You guys really have no excuse. So that's really the last word from my side. And I want to apologize for my kids, but I'm not going to apologize, because that's mom life. You know, like the interview started at sleep time, at the time where I'm supposed to be sending them to sleep. So that's why they're up and down now, because they're like, something abnormal is happening here. So I'm going to blame you for that.
Okay, no, thank you. Thank you so much, Sis Thando. We learned a lot from you today. It's such an honor. I really enjoyed this interview, and definitely going to be watching it over and over again way before I post it, just to absorb, and just think about the stuff you said. Because, some of the stuff you said it, and I didn't really get the chance to actually let it sink in and think about it. But I'm going to do that now. It was very powerful, and thank you again for availing yourself. I know you're a very busy person, but thank you. I mean, this is even after hours. Normally people want to do this thing during, the work hours, but you allowed us to do it after hours when you needed to have your kids in bed. That's great. I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Thank you, Mzwandile. It's only a pleasure. Thank you so much. To everyone watching, all the best in your careers. Thank you so much.
All right.